Yes, all technologies, or advances as they're now called for some reason. Even the unique ones for different religions that do nothing, so if the Ottomans ever decide to embrace Hinduism, they will get access to +1 avatar slot, and indeed because I have given them access to more technologies as previously mentioned, in 1337 they can right away build every single unique building, build every single unique unit, and have enough percentage modifiers to make any seasoned modifier stack and enjoy a blush. So let's see, will this insane level of bonus mean they can conquer the world? Well, before we get into that, a like would be appreciated and a subscription would be amazing, but enough self-shitting, let's get into the game. So, the Ottomans start as great power number 41 right off the bat, which isn't that impressive, but yeah, how have I done the all advances technologies? Well, first things first, I've made every single technology in the game, systematically, I've just run a script basically that does this, to require you to not be the Ottomans. Meaning the Ottomans actually have access to no technologies, apart from one which I made them start with. And that one technology I made them start with, well, I've run a couple more scripts. I'm not going to hover over this technology, and in fact, it's really lagging right now as I'm trying to zoom in on this Turkic traditions. But what I've done is I've ran another script that basically went through every single modifier that technologies would give you, and I've outputted all of those things into one big text file. Then I went through all the duplicates. So, for example, there'll be multiple things that give you artillery power, some that from unique nations, some from just generic text, whatever. And I've combined all of the modifiers like into one big block, but also everything that can recruit, can do laws, can do everything is also just been added here. And the game actually allowed this, which means this one advance, the Turkic traditions, yeah, I mean, just hovering over this is basically a really, really difficult task for the game to handle. But this is the win button. This is every single advance in the game shoved into Turkic traditions. Turkic traditions just enable you to do everything. And what I mean by everything is I mean the ability to build railroads is here. Just think of a unique building. If it's restricted by technology, it's unlocked through that. We'll get to the quartz buildings later, but for example, actually this is probably a bad way of looking at it. If we look at buildings and we look at nobility, we can build the Eu5. We can build whatever this is. I actually don't know how to. There is, of course, other special conditions, unfortunately, but it does mean that if there's a technological requirements behind it, we can bypass that. So I believe there's also one point. Yeah, we can build the Venetian Palace. The Venetian Palace is quite nice because it just requires you to be the capital of the country. But if you're playing this yourself, you could just build the Venetian Palace. Literally every single one of these like unique buildings, you just build them. If you want to invest right off rip into the best possible industry, you want to build the best possible everything, you just can. You ever wanted to put the Copenhagen dockyard into Constantinople? Now you absolutely can. And just to be clear, they have all of them. Every single unit in the game. Now they're not showing the out of order ones, but they have access to literally every single possible unit of the game. If you want to see the Ottomans running around with red coats in 1337, this is the run for you. And again, we are just talking about the units and building unlocks. Of course, there's also a lot of flat stat bonuses, and we kind of mentioned them earlier, but they have 24.7 morale, because Turkic traditions give 0.5 morale and 585% morale, as well as 175% discipline, and 4 mil tactics, because they get 3 right off rip, just for fun. Not a lot of levy combat efficiency. I thought there'll be more in the game, to be honest, but not that it will matter too much, as our average combat ability spread is just ludicrous, like absolutely ludicrous. If we use heavy infantry, we have 370%. If we ever want to use light cavalry, we have 305%. Our cannons are doubled in strength right off rip. It's just, yeah, special heavy cavalry as well. Insane. But it gets better. Now let's return to our estates. Oh, and by the way, good point to mention, the Byzantine ability to have bureaucracies is actually a technology, so we unlock it. But none of the bureaucracies are technologies, so we just have the opportunity to do bureaucracy, but no bureaucracies are researched. The best kind of bureaucracy, the one where we accepted that there's a bureaucracy, but we just don't have any. Sorry, I just found that really funny. But yeah, no, that exists. We have 9 cabinet slots, and also to be clear, every single reform that requires technological research, like feudal theocracy, is available, but then things like, for example, national assemblies have, on top of the technological requirements, specific parliament type requests as well, so they are not unlocked, if that makes sense. And also some are age restricted, which again, even though we have the quote-unquote technology for them, we don't have them right off rip. But we nevertheless have 443% crown power from every single crown power tech in the game. And also, yeah, we could revoke privileges for like free, like 25 stab from our nobility, 5 from everyone else. It's insane, right? Like this is just an insane level of whatever, right? We have unlocked every single possible law. We're already able to do legitimization of power right away. I mean, these ones require superior ages, so we can't do them later. But basically, every single law is unlocked for everything. So if you wanna go do things like the rights of the commoners right off rip, you absolutely can. And of course, just to really push this forward, we have 10 cabinet slots and 246% cabinet efficiency. Right, and of course we have every single cabinet action that we can research unlocked off rip. So if you want to reduce inflation right off the bat, you can. In fact, you may be tempted to do that because let's say we want to reduce inflation. Uh, oh, where did that go? Okay, it's gone. Well, you know what? I'll ignore that for now. Oh, of course I can't. I'm an observer. I'm out of observer this time. We're back to the exact same Ottomans. Yeah, max minting is 0.03 inflation. However, if we actually go to our cabinet and we appoint our absolutely incredible Osman Nugulu, this chap over here, to be our head of cabinet, and then we ask him to, please, good sir, please, can you reduce our inflation? We could start by losing 0.06 inflation on max minting. Cost of court? Yep, we can spend 3 ducats to gain +5. Also, we don't really have to spend money on that ever because we have so many technologies that give it legitimacy. We get 4.75. 4.75, insane. A cultural investment is a bit hard to do because we currently have no artists to invest into. Our diplomatic spending can run up to 10 ducats, but here's my favorite part. Our stability spending is free. We have minus 173% stability investment cost. Where is that coming from? 175 from Turkic traditions, which means even if we go full innovative, we'll still have free stability. But yeah, the economic situation is just an absolute dream. Of course, all our food problems are just solved because if we click on like any single province, we have so many technologies that buff our food production rate. We have 310% global food output everywhere, which is insane, which is also pretty good for our economy. And the best part is we have so much, controlled propagation. If we actually look at our proximity speed is 235%, which is, again, pretty ludicrous. Especially because, if we wanted to, we can build railroads. But honestly, we don't need to build any of these because we start with such a ludicrous amount of control. And remember, we're the Ottomans. We haven't cored the Byzantine lands. And this is our starting control. Right. I mean, again, if they manage to throw this, I don't even know how. To be clear again, there is nothing left to research. Like, inside of the Age of Reformation and all the other ones, there is literally no technologies. You have all of them, which does mean that monthly research speed doesn't really matter, even if you have plus 273% of it. And, of course, our average literacy. Because if we take a look at just our demographics, our literacy is insane. Even these slaves over here, they are getting 100% literacy because we're getting 143% literacy for everyone from our technologies. And remember, having 100% literacy actually gives a bunch of other secret buffs on the side, which isn't communicated too well, but yeah, they're pretty good. For example, having high literacy makes monthly manpower appear more often, which is just a modifier, good to know. Laborers is pretty good, as at 100% literacy it's 5% more production efficiency and 10% max RGO size. And Peasants one is also great because it's 200% local pop promotion speed, which is pretty good to have. The manpower is, we have 460% manpower growth, so of course we do. And also, we basically convert anyone we ever step on, because despite having humanism, we have plus 30 base monthly conversion just from all the technologies. Beautiful. Again, I can really keep going. For example, we have access to every single urban right in the game as well that's unlocked from technologies. So if we ever want to do like a scholarly privileges, but we'll need to build a university here. But yeah, we can. That's an option. But yeah, that's the setup. Hopefully I've glazed the Ottoman setup enough now. Surely they can now actually go ahead and win. Well, let's see it in action. I don't want to sound ungrateful, and I'm sure there's merits to the Ottoman grand strategy, right? I believe in the Ottoman grand strategy. They just seen things I'm not seeing. But the first thing they've done is delete the army and build a Supreme Court. I trust the vision. I trust there is a vision. The current Ottoman plan for world domination involves getting rid of their regular standing army, probably to replace it, of course, with much better, superior troops that I just don't even know about, and immediately build a Supreme Court building in Bursa. Not my opening place. I will concede that is not what I would have done as my opening play, but you know what? Look, my economy doesn't look like this in 1337 normally, so I'll trust the process. Just trust the process. Well, I knew I should have trusted the process. It's 29th of October, 1337, and the Ottomans have gone straight in against Byzantium. I mean, fair enough, I guess. I'm not sure you had to delete the army to do that, but, you've gone for it. The Supreme Court is something you're working on, but I've also just realised, why did you abolish Parliament? What? You have 122 base Parliament support, why would you get rid of it? Oh, PKI. PKI, nevertheless. Right, let's see how they do against the Byzantines. Byzantium. I understand they have the greatest military known to man, but their navy consists of 105 levied transports, in my understanding. Absolutely. They have not a single regular ship. How did you let them cross? It's the 3rd of January, 1338, and they're already outside of Constantinople. It's a bit early. Well, I mean, good to know the aggression's working for the Ottomans, but it shouldn't be. They just let them in. Well, to be fair, the Ottomans have finished instituting a feudal theocracy, so maybe they just prayed really hard. Anyway, let's see how long this Constantinople siege lasts. I would like to make a formal apology. I had looked away for 3 seconds, and I had assumed that the siege of Constantinople would take at least a little bit of a while. I was absolutely incorrect, and they will get a 100 war score. Right. Park, there are... Oh, no, okay, never mind. They've changed their mind, and they've continued back on the offensive. You've won the war! Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I forgot they have conquest efficiency. Yeah, good to know. I think the Ottomans will be utilizing their technologies to their maximum extent. So, yep, looks pretty good to me. Again, though, I will apologize. Most wars are actually just a snooze fest. The Ottomans show up and win anytime they enter a conflict. I did have to test the mod pretty extensively, actually, before, so I can confirm that. As such, I'm not going to show the war. I'm going to let the game run. And I'll catch back up with you in, let's say, 1350 and see what the world's up to. Alright, here we are, the 1st of January, 1350. As we can see, the Ottomans kept the aggression up, quite a bit up. In fact, they are currently at war with the Great Horde, which is impressive. I think they managed to do this by allying Bohemia, or maybe great rival joining against. Either way, I'm not sure they would get much out of it, but they have an army now, quite an impressive one at that. 17 light dragoon regiments, 4 Hussar regiments, and 6 logistic corps. They've decided that infantry is cringe, so they have a purely cavalry army, which is quite impressive. And of course, logistic corps to supply them. And well, okay, fine, they also have their levies, so that makes sense. But yep, pure horse Ottomans, good to know. In terms of their expansion and control, they have a lot of control. They have a lot of control over their core territories, shall we say. And they're making a lot of money. They've hit 1,000 income, which is ludicrous. I guess max minting helps. They have the ability to give loans out to people, so they're actually giving money out to the Kingdom of Naples, among other things, and also to the Jariad hordes, which is not what I expected them to be doing, but makes sense. And of course, they have obscene amounts of trade efficiency and buffs to making money from trade. So yeah, they're making a lot from that. Just in general, a very powerful, very healthy country. Their manpower is, well, worse because they've had to rebuild their army, dare I say. I think it's manpower that's getting used, but they have a lot of manpower to it, 460%, so that's looking pretty good. Their population graph is, I think, just post-Black Death. Well, Black Death is happening, yeah, so they just had the Black Death hit them. It still hit them pretty hard, even if they did have some disease-resistant techs, so yeah, no way of getting around that, but I think certainly a nation on the up, and they are great power number 2. I believe still, if we're not mistaken, going to be behind the Great Yuan. Yeah, hard to be that right off the bat. But already great power number 2, and with 1,000 income, certainly a pretty healthy state. Their market is absolutely massive as well. The thing to realize, of course, is that they have a lot of market attraction buffs. So yeah, any market that they own, because they have so many market attraction techs, is just going to balloon, which is probably not necessarily a good thing, but I think as they conquer more markets, it'll be less of a problem for them. But yep, 77% average control. They've decided to now take of noble bearing after picking up Trade Office Network, after picking up Royal Decree and a whole bunch of other stuff, so there we go. And 77% average control with 67% crown power, yet again, is quite an impressive feat. But yep, that's the situation in 1350. Let's see what they managed to achieve by the 1400s. Alright, we're back in the 1400s, and I think this map speaks for itself. What am I looking at? This is terrifying. What's going on? Well, I guess, to the surprise of absolutely no one, the Ottomans are great power number 1. Let's jump a bit further into that, but before we do, just looking at this stunning highlight. Someone who's good at borders, can you explain to me what's going on there? We've kind of, like, done most of Anatolia and Greece good. We've got a couple exclaves, the random Bosnia here and there, okay. A little bit of Bulgaria, don't wanna miss out on that. We've yet again taken exactly one province from Cyprus. Okay, a bit of a repeating theme here. I don't know why the Ottomans love to take exactly one province in Cyprus. And we have pushed into the Mamluks. And now they might be wondering how they managed to do that. The answer is very simple. The Ottoman army, anytime there's any battle, it's one of the reasons I'm not showing wars, even like a 2k stack will engage a 100k stack and just win. And part of the reasoning for this is, of course, their, well, very, very advanced units, but also the fact that all of these military modifiers mean that it's just a free win button. They march into anything and immediately occupy and immediately just destroy anything they actually bother fighting. Which is also why they're in Europe. I'm sorry. Also, what's going on with Observer? Right, I ran forward 10 days, so I don't get to see everyone else in the world now. It's a bit weird. Anyway, yeah, we are mid-war. We're invading Theodora right now, which means we're also going to be probably taking Halich as well in the process, just to be upfront about it. Did their coalition disappear? I think their coalition's disappeared. But yeah, they had a bit of a coalition because of, well, this, but to be honest, they can fight everyone and just win. And, I mean, they have almost 1 million regulars in the 1400s. If it wasn't for the fact they were age 6, they would just be a win army anyway. They've actually decided to invest in infantry this time. Wonderful. 263 regiments of these Jazayerici, excellent choice, and a whole bunch of light dragoons and Grenz hussars. Wonderful. A bunch of logistics corps, a bunch of flying batteries, and 1 unit of experimental riflemen. No more experimenting beyond that. And despite the fact they have access to all these wonderful units like Redcoats and Gurkhas, and Fusiliers and Cower columns, and even Janissary columns, they're like, nah, we're not about that. We don't need any of those. We've got the troops we want to build, and we've just built those. And fair enough, I guess. But yeah, they've decided to preempt this whole Austria as a big rival by taking them out pretty early, and have decided to take revenge on all of these George hordes, which normally stop their expansion into Anatolia by just, putting them out of their misery as well. It's quite a bit of an expansion path. It's a choice. We'll just put it this way, it's a choice. Expansion aside, their core map mode is very impressive as well, and their literacy is a beacon of literacy and civilization, is what I will say on that regard. They've been converting everyone Sunni, and they've been converting everyone into Turkish as well, which is fair. The thing to bear in mind, of course, when it comes to these conversions, I'm not sure if I can spot that, but let's see if I can. Do they have anyone in the cabinet on? They have a person on assimilation. Where is this guy assimilating? Assimilating over here. So just to be clear, this is like central Hungary, relatively far away, but already caught anyway. Yeah, it's still 97 control, which means if we take a look at this province, we're culture converting 541. Their culture conversion rate, and especially religious conversion rate, is just ludicrous. Finally found a province without 100% Sunnism over here, and yeah, they're getting a flat 30 and then 275% as well from double tech, because there's a couple techs that give plus flat religious conversion. They have all of them, and of course, yeah, the percentage as well is just brutal. So basically any land they touch just immediately gets Sunnified. Pretty aggressively as well. Like, yeah, sometimes you get a bit of survival. Actually, is that because of the religious conversion? Do they have a cabinet on it? No, I don't believe so. I think it's just, they just have that. Right, fair enough. But yeah, despite that, they're only 59% Turkish, although that's still 8 million Turks in 1400s. But they are 94% Sunni, 13.4 million. Okay, it's very insane. Oh, they won't have rebels. They have every single source of religious tolerance. Yeah, they just love everyone, I've just realized. Right. And I guess culturally as... Yeah, okay. They have 33 artists. Right. Fair enough. Their artist skill is almost 200%. Okay. Well, I guess they're also doing a very good art game. Honestly, they just don't have to pay their art salaries. That's incredible. Oh, and Neruda's a patron of the arts. No, is he not? Okay, I don't even know. Oh, they probably have a cabinet member patron of the arts thing, or a combination of, but either way, yeah. Right. Cabinet efficiency also is through the roof. I forgot about that. Well, at least they passed most of their laws, apart from the intelligence agency. For those wondering, they're administrative. They've got the island division, decentralized dynastic, by blood secluded harem, Sharia law with less 6 livres de republic. How that works, I'll leave to some Muslim scholars to elaborate to me how you can do Sharia law with the less 6 livres de republique. Although I guess maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with those works. Maybe I should go read them. You know what? I probably should, but that's not the point. We are also running a traditional distribution of power, fascinating, but we have strong guild, we've strengthened the rights of the clergy, but we've curtailed the commoners, and we've got, of course, absolute rule for even more crown power, because Lord knows we need that, and rule noble authority. We've got sustained discipline, ruler general, peasant levies, protected trade routes, merchant navy, and expanded levies, of course, because Lord knows we need more troops. Limited censorship, same religion, tax farming, and allow slave religion for slave conversions. It's so nice of them. Oh, we even run Locan Proviso and subjugating the natives, but right. State press only, though. Good to know. Fascinating society. Still abolish parliament. Yep, there's no parliament. Last parliament was called 65 years ago. Good to know. We could institute a parliament. We've just decided not to. And yep, maintained just under 70% crown power pretty much the whole time, but the average control is 88%. Oh my god. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, that's such a beautiful control map mode. All right. And yeah, for those wondering economically, they're making 11,000 ducats a month, spending 10,000, making 20,000, an obscene amount of money. 3,000 of which is just them hiring out their mercenaries abroad. But they're also hiring like 1.5k worth of mercs, 2.7k from trade, making 3k taxing the peasants, 3.6k taxing the burghers, 2k taxing the nobles, and why aren't we max minting? I don't know. I guess they kind of have enough money. They have 440k in the bank. An obscene amount of money, which they are spending on a huge military and on expansion. They've secured quite a few markets at this point. Good job. And one of the things I am wondering is, how's their RGO's levels? I'm assuming they've upgraded everything, right? Let's do all markets. Surprisingly not, actually. You know what? They still have quite a few places they can upgrade RGOs in. I'm really surprised by that. I guess they don't need to. They're already producing an obscene oversupply of food, but yeah, you can do that. They're building steel mills. Wait, is that because they're already building railroads? They're building Constantinople steel mills in the 1400s to build railroads. Well, that's one way for the Ottoman army to arrive in places. And the state of their navy? Okay, right. That's, they've built 846 galleys and 251 first-rate ships of the line, as well as 278 cabangs. It's Age 1 ships. They have one dough. They built one dough just for the fun of it. They're like, yep, it's literally a museum ship, I feel like, at that point, but whatever. And 15 Genoese galleys, just to really rub it in. In terms of unique buildings in Constantinople as well, we have 11 Venetian palaces. What? Okay. A Supreme Court, a Confucian Academy, a Royal Court, an Uffizi, a Royal Garden, and a Kalari, a temple, a university, a hospital, a cathedral, and a madras, and a Bujan Ratu, okay, fair enough, as well as, of course, a lazaretto. We built 3 lacquerware manufactories, of course, some jewelers' guilds, some market warehouses, wine manufactories, perfume things, alright, a war, fair enough, a war college, fair, a slave market which we're just not employing people to work, and some entry ports, as well as just a whole slew of other ships, like a trading hub, minting offices and buildings is what I meant to say. A Funduk, right? We just kind of built everything for fun. Actually, still pretty under building cap. I guess we are a Scalari. God. Still only have a castle, have not upgraded there, but we do have Theodosian walls, good to know, a sergeantry, have that naval base, and we have the Copenhagen dockyards, very important. We have built the Copenhagen dockyards. As well as a Janissary barrack, that's nice, and a Gilman barrack, alright. Can also build a galley barracks, but we haven't bothered to do that. Frankly, even really upgrade the RGOs. Wait, they're so cheap. How are they so cheap? Oh my god, they have minus 85% RGO upgrade costs from their traditions. That's actually ludicrous. That's genuinely ludicrous. They could be so much richer. They haven't just bothered being richer. We're building Cower Barracks just for the fun of it, I guess, at this point. Fair enough. Also, we've got ourselves a pet Ottoman Empire, I presume. Yeah, Byzantine Empire, sorry. A pet Byzantine Empire. We are the Ottomans just in these islands here, but... I mean, the AI isn't even doing badly. The AI is doing really well, but compared to what a player could be doing, it's so much better. But I guess the player could also not be bothered to micro. What is this fleet? And I guess also a good question to ask is, what's their maritime... It's good. Their maritime presence is also pretty good. Well, here's the population graph for those wondering, and here's the tax base for those wondering as well. But yeah, that's the review of the Ottomans in the 1400s. I'm going to let them keep conquering. I'm going to check back into the 1500s. So let's see what they're up to then. So here we are on the 1st of January, 1500. And I'll be honest, I am scared. Because this is the state of the Ottomans at this point. I'm going to slowly zoom out. And as you may see, the Ottoman Empire is a big boy. Not only did they consolidated their rule over most of Anatolia and Greece, basically absolutely demolished Hungary and made great expansions into Europe and Italy. They've also turned around, did this, have campaigned into the Mamluk lands, campaigned into Arabia, crushed Persia, and more importantly, they're in India. Yep, they're in India. Yeah. They've gone as far as India, and in fact, in that place, they built a Confucian academy. I guess just to really communicate their values at this point, because I mean, I guess they can do that, as well as a Ribat, of course, and a madras and an opera house. Don't forget the opera house. So I guess the surprise of absolutely no one, they are global hegemons in everything by quite a margin, having by far the largest economy, by far the largest army, by far the largest navy, by far, well, actually, I guess not that much, but yeah, they have the most dip rep. And yeah, their cultural influence is absolutely unmatched. Now, they are currently at peace, and you might think they're occupying Georgia, but actually, no. For any fans of Georgia out there, the Ottomans are also fans of Georgia, so much so that they've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Georgias for you to enjoy. So yeah, but the results speak for themselves. This is an incredible economy for the 1500s. I mean, they've won, right? They have enough money. They have 44 million in the bank, making over 100k a month with 174k income. They're max diplomatic spending because you might as well. They're actually buying 6 ducats worth of food, which is impressive, but they're also selling 7 grand worth of food. They're spending 20,000 on mercs, but they're making 48,000 hiring out their mercenaries. So yeah, and of course making obscene amounts of money from just internal trade. Taking a look at this Ottoman Empire again in terms of control. That's beautiful. That's just the state of the Ottoman Empire. It is a field of blue 100s, followed by, even as far as India, we start seeing a dip down to the early 70s. This is probably why they're still expanding, because they're looking at this land going, yeah, we can have, like, 70 control here. This isn't even called, by the way. This is an integrated settlement, which is obscene. Because despite having a population of 66 million, 68% of their society, or 45 million of them, are Turks, and they've also converted a frankly ludicrous 96% of their society, or 63 million people, to Sunnism, which again is just absolutely ludicrous. And this is one of the reasons they've had absolutely no revolts. Everyone is in a permanent state of bliss inside of the Ottoman Empire. Why? Because their primary religious tolerance is plus 53. There's exactly plus 50 tolerance of the true faith, yet again, from the Turkic traditions. So, yeah, even the heathens and heretics are not rising up. Remember, each point of tolerance is plus 5% happiness, so basically, they just love them. And the other thing to bear in mind is the obscene size of their army. I've clicked on navies here, but they have just over 9 million troops in the field, which is an obscene amount of troops. And it's kind of ironic that this guy's a coward, but at this point, I mean, yeah, sure, 10% carefulness. He just wins. He wins every single battle. But yeah, 3.5 million levies, over 9 million regulars, composed of 1 unit of experimental riflemen, 3,000 units of the Jaizercherchi units, over 1,000 units of light dragoons, 750 units of Grenz hussars, over 1,000 flying batteries, and 1.5k logistic corps. Any other units? Nah, they're not building Kawa columns or Janissary columns, they're not about that life. They have 93% average control with 69 nice crown power. In terms of their reforms, they haven't picked up anything too ludicrous or new. I mean, they still have the Pashas, they still have their legacy of the Ottoman reform. I mean, it's not like they're going to be unlocking new reform slots, to be fair. That's actually another thing I've realized. These are probably set in stone. They've kind of unlocked everything already, so they're just kind of done with this. This applies to the laws as well, right? They've unlocked all the laws right off bat, so they've just kind of passed all the laws they want and they're done with it. But yeah, that's the state of this Ottoman Empire in the 1500s. They're in India. They're bordering the French. They've conquered a good part of the Italian peninsula. They've pushed as far as, well, okay, they've almost taken Kiev. They've encircled Kiev. Right. Is that still the capital of the Grand Principality of Kiev? Yes. Yes, it is. It's still the capital. So they might be struggling a bit with control, I feel, given that most of their empire is no longer in Kiev, but fair enough. It's up to them if they want to move it. Nevertheless, again, here's the state of integration. You can see their most recent conquests. Every time they do a conquest, they integrate it very, very quickly. Look, if you want to know how to conquer you want 11 cabinet slots and 255% cabinet efficiency. That's how you do it. They're nowhere near as urbanized as I thought they would be, honestly. I guess they just don't really need to urbanize that much, but I thought they'll be a lot more urbanized if you're wondering. But no, they're not really working on that as well. Their control is still, of course, absolutely amazing. I mean, for crying out loud, they have 99 control provinces here, literally 100 control provinces, although in my understanding, that's because of the army in the area. Yeah, so 51 from proximity, but then friendly armies is 137. They just have so many troops that as they march their armies around, they have ludicrous control everywhere just from their armies walking around. The maritime presence for the Ottomans is also, I mean, the fact that they have very low maritime presence, but maritime presence in the English Channel anyway is ludicrous and just insane nevertheless. And this is their literacy. The Ottoman Empire truly is a beacon of enlightenment in more ways than one. They've just, you can really also tell their more recent conquest based on this map mode. But even here, they just get the literacy at the moment they conquer anything up so quickly that the fact that these were relatively recent conquests, you can't tell. And again, I'm not showing the wars because the Ottoman army just shows up, wins, and that's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation. But yep, here's the population graph, remarkably stable considering that constant expansion. Here's the tax base graph. It's just a beautiful, beautiful graph. Starts at 162 and just goes up almost unconditionally. A bit of a weird dip there. I'm not sure quite what happened, but yeah, it's a beautiful graph nevertheless. And what I think is absolutely insane is just the fact that they have so many more RGOs to build. Like, they have 44 million, but the AI is just, nah, I can't be bothered. Their RGOs are super cheap to build because they have all the techs and reductions and everything. So if you are playing this yourself, you could do so much better on RGOs. You're missing like 10 RGOs in Constantinople. I mean, definitely have the peasants for it, right? So that's something you can just build, right? I mean, you're missing like 40 RGOs. Well, okay, not 40. You're missing 36 wool RGOs, and I bet you these are profitable. I mean, I guess the population could be better here. You have built a lot of buildings. But yeah, just an obscene amount of potential in terms of even more economic growth here, which is insane to say, but still true. But yeah, that's the Ottoman Empire, and that's the state of them in the 1500s. I'm sure every single Turkish person watching right now is having the time of their life. But beyond that, let's get another 100 years in and see what happens then. I'm afraid I have some terrible news. We will be actually ending the campaign here, despite the Ottomans' best efforts. Unfortunately, at this point on the, well, not on this point specifically, but on the 3rd of January 1565, the game proceeds to crash, and I've spent the better part of 2 days now trying to fix it, and I quite simply can't. And remarkably enough, while I do believe it is a fault of the mod, as I was unable to replicate this bug without the mod, as I did run a campaign past this point, in vanilla, shall we say, without any of the mod changes, I still don't know how to fix this. But the issue specifically is not actually caused by the Ottomans. It is the fault of, remarkably enough, the Russians, or more specifically, the Muscovites. Why? Well, you see, on the 3rd of January 1565, Muscovy adopts an invalid government, which is one of the statements of all time nevertheless, but unfortunately this invalid government is so invalid that the entire game proceeds to crash straight to desktop. Now, you might be thinking, alright, that seems pretty bad, you spent a long time fixing this, surely you can just integrate Muscovy into Veliki Novgorod, for example, or even give it to the Golden Horde, or maybe even give it to Kiev or Sweden or whatever, just get rid of them, maybe even just uncolonize that land and solve it. Well no, turns out the 3rd of January Russian government that the Muscovites adopt is so fundamentally invalid that even if Muscovy stops existing, they're still able to adopt the invalid government and crash the game, which is really impressive. It is, again, a government so fundamentally invalid that even if the country stops existing, it still manages to adopt said invalid government and crash my game. A very impressive achievement nevertheless, but that is the unfortunate state of being. I cannot continue this to the best of my ability, and trust me, I have tried. So it is nevertheless unfortunately here that we'll be concluding our run. I don't think the Ottomans would be able to finish this world conquest. They have certainly done very, very well if you look on the map here, but even if we were to run it to the 1800s, I don't think they had enough left in the tank, as it were. I'll be completely honest. At this point, even if they are very ambitious with their conquering, the reality of the situation is that a lot of the other nations around them are starting to urbanize more. And, for example, if we take a look at Tunis over here, this is the product of the land they took from Tunis after 2 Tunisian invasions. And it's not nothing. They've taken a treaty port, for example, here, and they've set up whatever this is, right? Very impressive, sure, but they're certainly slowing down, and I don't think that's going to be enough, especially considering the fact that the Ottomans are very, very reluctant to truce break, meaning that at this point, if they have a truce, they can, what, do one war at a time against the Europeans. Again, very impressive. They've taken a lot of land. They've taken a treaty port with Hastings, of all places, and we'll get to Hastings in a second. But the reality of the situation is that I don't think it's quite going to be enough for an AI world conquest, despite my best efforts. But let's do one final review of this beautiful Ottoman Empire, and I want to start with a couple of the memes that the AI managed to pull off, as weird as it sounds. See, the Ottomans, at the very start of the campaign, they turned around and they allied the Kandarids. And they have kept this alliance this entire time. At no point have they dropped this alliance. They've been best friends with the Ottomans the whole time. The Ottomans would also pick up another alliance with this random unique location miner over here, and also the Taketinids. The Ottomans just kept them around as friends forever. But you know who else they kept around? That's right, they never actually bothered to destroy the rest of the Byzantine Empire. So the Byzantine Empire is still here, led by Basilius Ionas VII Palaiologos, still the same dynasty. They are stuck onto these little islands in the Mediterranean, forever destined to watch the scourge upon humanity that is the Ottomans in this scenario. Although I think that's an unfair statement, because they've also brought insane amounts of, well, for lack of a better word, peace and prosperity everywhere they've conquered. But I guess from the perspective of everyone else, the scourge of humanity. I don't know why. I guess the Ottomans just never bothered to invade it, and every time it was a worthier target than take over these random 3 islands in both the Mediterranean. But yes, that's the state of the Byzantines, forced to forever endure a perception of what the Ottomans became, a far greater empire than they could ever dream of. Although I guess maybe compared to Rome, I don't know. I mean, even comparing it to Rome, they've done some impressive things. Like that's quite far into India they've gone, I'll be honest. But yeah, still a very, very impressive achievements. And I will just say that turns out you can't just ally the Ottomans. You can't just ally the Ottomans day one. And you know what? Despite everyone else getting conquered, I'm sure the Kandarids are very, very happy they accepted that day one alliance offer. That being said, let's take a look at their economy now, their final economy. They've almost hit 100 million, which is a ludicrous amount of money, as one does. They have 300,000 income and are spending 130,000 a month, meaning that they are profiting 170k a month, which is a very, very impressive number. Taxing the nobility quite a bit, taxing the church quite a bit, taxing the burghers quite a bit. I mean, again, just a very beautiful economy, making 32,000 a month from trade and making 80,000 a month just renting out mercenaries, but also making, well, sorry, not making, spending 37,000 a month on hiring mercenaries, because this Ottoman Empire may have a stupendously insane tax base of 187,000, but also, wow, this province really became more profitable than Constantinople. That's actually really impressive. I guess there's a lot of industry here. That's the Port Authority. That's a very profitable firearms factory. And that's a very profitable paper mill. And that's a very profitable leather tanner and very profitable weapon mill. Fair enough, that actually makes a lot of sense. And even this bog smelter's not bad. And hey, even, wow, they should upgrade the steel mill, because this steel mill is also really, really profitable for them. But yeah, that's the state of the Ottomans, or more specifically their economy. It is beautiful. It's an incredible economy. They're able to do something like spend 18,000 a month on diplomatic spending, and they're just fine. To be absolutely upfront about it as well, of course, they have absolutely no complacency. They're not complacent at all in their position in the world. And their current Padish, they did unfortunately lose the Osmanoglu dynasty, but they have these guys in charge now. He's a bit malevolent, but he's certainly a not bad ruler. And that's the other thing. They've had some pretty good rulers all around. They've always been able to afford, although in this case, of course, the moment I look at it, they're not running a good education. But basically, they have a lot of technologies that give you buffs to education, turns out. So they've almost always had pretty good rulers, which is quite impressive. And I mean, their conquests really do speak for themselves. Before we do, however, get to the map modes, because there's quite a few map modes I do want to show, I do want to talk about the Hastings Treaty Port, which is a very cursed statement. It was taken relatively recently, but it is cored, so, well, integrated to be clear, not cored. They haven't built anything here, not anything substantial. They've kept the iron mines going. But demographically, they've converted basically every single English person here into Muslim. And then they imported like 2,000 Indians in here as slaves into the Hastings Treaty Port. I'm sure there's some kind of vision they've got going here. What it is, I don't know, but that's what they've done to Hastings. They made everyone Muslim and imported a bunch of Indians. So make of that what you will. Oh, and they taught everyone how to read. That's also another thing they did, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean, a lot of these border expansions are, it's the kind of art that only the AI could love, is all I will say, because Why is Hungary still here? Why is Hungary still here in this fashion? Do we just get along with Ferrara that we allow this Ferrara? Do we never want to take the actual province of Zena from Genoa, so we're just gonna let them be like that? I don't know. Maybe they had visions for later. Maybe those visions got destroyed by the Muscovites adopting an invalid government. Who knows? I mean, that's the situation nevertheless regarding these borders. Something absolutely horrendous happening in Italy and some terrible blobs over here. We've landed in Aragon as well, so we're making our way over that. We have conquered most of Arabia and Egypt, so good job on that, and we've kind of consolidated Persia, but we haven't really wanted to push deeper into Persia. But we have started making inroads into India, which is a very, very profitable endeavor, so good job on that regard, because they've actually caught a good chunk of this land, which is quite impressive. And yeah, they have very, very healthy control over here. Now again, mainly because they just have stupidly massive armies everywhere, which give them loads of control, so that's an element of this. And I think this is a very wonderful transition to then talk about the size of their army, because it is stupendously ludicrous. Reminder, the Ottomans have 131 million population, a very impressive population considering yet again around 66% of it is Turkish, so that's 87 million Turks and 124 million Muslims. However, of this 131 million population, their army composes a very impressive 24 million men as regular troops. If my napkin math serves me correctly, that's around 18% of all Ottoman citizens, or I guess just people living in the Ottoman Empire, being in the army, in the regular army. That's excluding their 7 million levies. If you include those, that takes us up to almost 30 million, which should comfortably take us over the 1 in 5 mobilization factor at peak mobilization. Just a, frankly, entirely ludicrous amount of troops. Also, I've just realized, well, despite everyone basically in the Ottoman Empire being Turkish, the actual Padishah of the Ottomans is Farsi, because of course he is, right? That's fascinating, but yeah. Anyway, that is the state of the Ottoman army. If we were to look at their navy as well, it's equally ludicrous. They have over 7,000 ships. Regular ships, to be clear, and almost 1,800, well, not almost, 1,850 mercenary vessels as well. Jesus. Of course, military and everything hegemon to the surprise of absolutely no one. This is the state of the world as a whole. As you can see, China's not doing too great. Korea's been doing some weird stuff. A lot of interesting expansions otherwise, some big empires forming. This is what you get when you bump AI aggressiveness up, as I did put it on aggressive for everyone, as I did want to see the Ottomans do well, just to be clear. And this is one of the reasons the Ottomans is also doing very well. They've got a lot of buffs, but they also have maximum aggressiveness settings basically all across the board. So quite an interesting world. In terms of the new world as well, it is terrifying in many ways. What's going on here is a question. I think the English were able to do a bit of colonization, and certainly a bit of colonization by the Spanish and the Portuguese. A bit in Brazil, to be clear, but surprisingly, a lot of natives just still hanging around. So that's neat. And, well, actually, I think the French also had a couple decent colonies around the shop, so there we go. Although I think the Ottomans are going to be probably, if we had more time, I think the Ottomans would have started taking those colonies. The Ottomans themselves never actually bothered to colonize, which, oh, no, they have the, they have this. They've taken Tampa Bay. Fascinating Ottomans. I didn't realize that. I guess that's a provincial governor of. Okay, there's a bunch of French Muslims in Tampa Bay. That's certainly going to go in the history books in some way. I'll put it that way. But beyond that, I think we also want to go through some map modes because those are rather interesting. Prosperity-wise, the Ottomans have managed to maintain perfect prosperity in basically the entirety of their empire. Turns out, if you just crush any and all opposition and have infinite food to feed everyone, and also obscene amounts of disease resistance, and all of the money to build hospitals, you can kind of solve all of people's problems, which leads to them dying, so that's a good thing. Now, what I did find rather surprising is I'd have assumed they would have just urbanized everything. They really haven't. Urbanization has not been as heavy as I thought it would be. I think the AI weights for urbanization are just quite a bit lower. And I think this is just a much better rate of urbanization overall. Yeah, you still see a decent chunk of urbanization in places like France and Germany. And I guess it is 1565, not quite at the end of the game. But honestly, given how much money they frankly have, this urbanization or lack thereof is purely by choice. The Ottoman control map mode, again, is just insane. You can see their recent conquest. This is probably why the Muscovites decided to end the campaign. They saw that the Ottomans have recently acquired some new territory right next to them and realized, all right, we've spent most of our history fighting the Golden Horde. We've just barely beat them back, but then the Golden Horde gets absolutely obliterated by this new Ottoman Empire horde, okay, I guess we'll call the campaign here. Thank you very much for coming. So there's some my little reason as to what's happened there. But yeah, if we want to take a look at outside of the Ottomans integration map modes, um, I meant to say control map modes. Yeah, they're pretty normal. Although still pretty good on all places. So you can see the larger nations certainly are able to get their control up, but nothing to the extent that the Ottomans can. And that's the thing that the Ottomans have going for them, of course, is that while everyone else is busy, digging around in the dirt, as it were. Well, I'll put it this way: the high demand for steel exists because they've been building railroads. They've been building so many goddamn railroads everywhere. Their troops have been able to get onto every single front because they're just railroading around. And that movement cost them minus 80%. Look, it's very good. And again, just to show how insane that is, from their capital of Hastings, they have 41 proximity. Because look, the nearest proximity source is still Constantinople. Because of this insane railway network that they built, plus a couple lakes that they go through and, go through the Straits of Dover, they have a railroad, effectively, from their capital to Dover, plus crossing a couple bodies of water. So they have 41% proximity in Hastings right now, which is straight up ludicrous. And yes, because of the local army, they have 74% control here as well. Now, to be clear, they do have a governor in Hormuz, so Hormuz is technically the nearest proximity source for some of their India holdings, but even then, as you can see, if you basically look at any of these provinces, they spammed railroads absolutely everywhere. This is one of the reasons the steel demand is so insane in the Ottoman Empire, is they've just been sitting here and spending almost all of their money on railroads. I say almost all, they still have ridiculous amounts of money, but that's what the Ottomans have brought to the world. They've woken up and decided to choose violence, conquer most of their areas, and just railroad everything. And yeah, it's paid off. It's paid off. Although I've clicked on the one province for the bailiff. They haven't built that many. Well, I guess quite a few. In fact, let's take a look at their buildings. They've built 360 Confucian academies and 324 Kalaris, 13 Venetian palaces, a couple Confucian schools, 4 local governors, a supreme court, a royal court, and a royal garden, as well as an Uffizi, wonderful. Have not built a single embassy, fair enough, and no naval governors. They have almost 2,000 incamissuns, I don't know what that is, almost 1,707 ribats. That was a bad idea to hover over that. 469 universities, 446 monasteries, 440 hospitals, 376 madrasas, and again, just a weird selection of buildings. They've also built 107 Orthodox monasteries because, of course, they could. They have 1.5k port authorities, an obscene amount of spitters guilds, an obscene amount of tanneries, a good chunk of paper workshops, and a good chunk of commerce centers and merchant quarters as well. Built a lot of jewelers guilds, but a good chunk of libraries, a good amount of counting houses, and honestly, 360 medical schools. Not bad at all. But yep, a good selection of buildings there. The military is supported with 3,712 cavalry barracks and 2,617 conscription centers, a good chunk of castles, fortresses, Kilwin shipwrights, bailiffs, and everything else around that. They have almost 6,000 market villages, 4.3k fishing villages, 3.2k farming villages, an obscene amount of forest villages, and 2.5k irrigation. And they built one settlement. Actually built quite a few of these Janissary barracks, the Gilman barracks, and Galley barracks as well, and 76 Mamluk barracks, not bad at all. But yep, that's their buildings. We've touched upon their society earlier as well. Very, very Turkic, 66% Turkic, and their empire keeps growing, but they just keep converting. So if we take a look at it from this point of view, yeah, you can see anytime they conquer, they just Turkify. And Sunnism, yeah, they're spreading that everywhere. But let's get back to the map modes, as I was distracted. This is the state of global religions. As you can see, very, very Sunni. And you might be thinking, of course Catholicism's falling off. Isn't Rome fallen? Well, you'd be incorrect. They haven't got around to Rome. That is still the capital of Naples, and Naples is not around here for now, but the Ottomans have decided that actually Rome will take them later. They've not taken Rome. They're like, nah, we don't need Rome. They've taken most of the rest of Italy, but not Rome yet. So I guess Rome still stands, although the Protestant Reformation is letting that be a bit more contested. Global cultures look pretty normal. Big Netherlands, to be fair. That's relatively unusual, I want to say, but of course just very, very Turkic everywhere. Markets are, yep, if you're inside of the Ottomans, if you're in an Ottoman market, you just blob to the point of absurdity. If you're not an Ottoman market like Prague, you're going to really struggle, because again, all of the market attraction techs are still very, very nice. Yeah, big Barcelona. And very small Tunis, because they didn't actually take Tunis, but Viterborgo is now a big market. Sevan as well has also grown ever since they've captured it. The rest of the world is starting to catch up to the Ottoman literacy, but the Ottoman everyone must read or write policy is working very, very well. They are a beacon of literacy everywhere, including in the steppe, because even as they take over those steppe, they just immediately literacy them up as well. The literacy map mode is, I think, not a surprise to anyone at this point. They have quite a bit of maritime presence there. They've certainly got a global empire when it comes to that. They're technically very bad on technology because they have 1 out of 1 advance, so they are... I think this map mode just kind of breaks with how I set up the game, but yes, they're very behind on technology technically. I just thought it would be funny. And yeah, population-wise, I mean, they have a lot of population growth text, but honestly, they just haven't done anything too remarkable with it. I mean, to be clear, 104k pops a month is very good, don't get me wrong, but they are just conquering pops faster than they actually obtain them normally. So while this population is very impressive, it's mainly coming from the fact that they've conquered a stupid amount of land. So yeah, honestly, I thought they would do more with population, considering they would basically all have to deal with food issues or anything else of that nature. But yeah, that is all I have to say about that. The Ottoman Empire may have failed to conquer the entire world because their time on this planet was cut short by the Grand Principalities of Muscovy insistence upon adopting an invalid form of government. But you know what? They stuck with their friends, the Kandarids, and then a couple of the new other friends they picked up as well, and they did let the Byzantines continue existing, so that the Byzantines may gaze upon the glory of their conquests. And in this way, the Ottomans, I will concede, you may not have conquered the entire world, but you have conquered my heart. Oh god, they also made the Byzantine Empire Catholic. Well, that's just extra cruel, isn't it? Although that said, that is unfortunately all the time I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, but a special thank you to my channel members, especially Ark, Solus, Lemon, Zendika, Nick, Hastan, Hatan, Star 72, The Awesome Rabbit, Bester Gaming, Grambo, Flavia, Liberule, W. Sov, Anthony 35, AC Nato, Conspiracy Pizza, Yukata, Danray, Marvi, Jack, Ryland, Stuart Allen, Andrew Black, Nebula, Zentronic, Twinnet, Aquabird, Yakiman, Barak, Lord Swarfin, Dick Von, and Klopkog.